Hey everybody!
Hey everybody!
Welcome back to the homestead.
Wondering how you're doing?
It has been quite a week here in southern Missouri. We've had almost every type of weather you can imagine in the last 7 days.
Does seem like it.
We've had ice storms,
Yep.
cold fronts, snowstorms,
6 inches of snow.
60 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a little bit of everything in the last week. It's been pretty crazy.
Yep. We don't have kids in school anymore at like the public school, but school was canceled on Friday and today because of snow.
Yeah, it's been.
Was it Thursday also?
It might have been more than that, yes.
A few days where there was no school because there was too much snow and there was ice on the road and those kinds of things.
Right.
But we did not go out of the house during all of those things. We didn't even venture down the driveway
went out of the house.
Well, okay. We didn't leave the property.
Chores. We didn't leave our farm.
Right. We didn't even go down the driveway until Saturday just to see how the roads were.
Right.
Yeah.
This is actually the very first. So I think this snowstorm that we got this week was the most snow we've gotten in one day since we've lived here in 9 years.
Yeah.
So we got about 7 inches of snow, six inches of snow.
I'd say 6 to 6.5.
Right.
Yeah.
Within about 12 or 12 hours or so.
It was a beautiful snow.
It was.
It just came down lightly. It wasn't blowing. It was just coming down lightly.
Yeah, there was like no wind. There were no snow drifts at all.
Mm-mm. It was decent kind of snow that you could pack and make a snowman.
Which we didn't do.
No. But it wasn't.
I tried to convince Sarah to go lay out there and make a snow angel, but she wouldn't do it.
No way. Nope.
No.
Nope. But it wasn't so heavy that it like broke your back when you had to shovel.
No, it wasn't that bad. In fact, the shoveling that I did do, which I'll be honest was minimal, wasn't that bad at all.
I did some shoveling in order to let the birds out because not only could I not get their doors open unless I shoveled, but they would not come out unless I shoveled a pathway to their food and to their water.
We've got spoiled birds.
We do. They don't know what to do.
We've got southern birds.
Yes, absolutely. Southern birds. But everybody survived. And Sylvester, our dairy calf, got extra energy with the snow and he ran all over the place. He's doing so well.
It's funny. Like the first morning that we went out to milk after the snow was pretty much done, but it's still snowing a little bit. But he was just running. It's like any other kid in a snowstorm.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was just out there running laps around and around. And Babe, our dairy cow, was standing there just watching him like, will you ever stop running? Like she's just like the mom, right? She's just standing out there like, here's the kid. Mom, watch me run. Watch me run.
Well, she doesn't have anybody to play with because there are no other calves. It's just her and Babe. Him and Babe.
Right.
And so, she's just kind of annoyed. But at least because it's been a few weeks, I think we're going on 3 weeks now since he was born.
Yeah, he was born on the 23rd of
she's
December.
Not so worried anymore about like every place that he goes. So she'll just like stand there and watch him run all around. Whereas when they're first born, the cows just like obsessively follow them around, like every little place that they go when they're mooing, like don't go too far, don't go too far. Now she's like, whatever, just go play. Leave me alone.
Right. Now he's like a second child.
For sure.
Your first kid, you're like so like, what if they fall? What if they this? And by your second kid, you're just like, they'll be fine even if they fall.
Yeah.
On your second kid, you wait to hear the scream. Right?
Yeah, true.
Like you hear a thump and then you're like, are they gonna make a noise? No. Okay.
Everything's okay.
All right, everything's okay.
Yeah.
But you don't know that on your first one.
No.
So you're worried.
Yeah. So the weather's been okay. It hasn't been too terribly cold since it has snowed. And it's going to warm up here in the next couple of days. Be really beautiful.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 60 degrees by this weekend.
And then the next day it's going to be like the high's like
12.
Something. No.
It's like 20 or 25.
Something cold. It's going to be cold.
Yeah.
Now, I did, we don't watch a whole lot of the comments and stuff while we're doing the live stream because we're just talking so much and answering questions. And we know that overall, people don't enjoy the live streams that are like, hey, so-and-so and blah, 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 that kind of thing. But as before we get into questions and stuff, I did notice that somebody's asking already what you're drinking.
Oh.
And they asked if it's moonshine.
Well, it's not moonshine.
That would be a lot of moonshine.
If this were all moonshine, we would not be doing a 1 hour live stream tonight.
No.
I can guarantee that.
Well, it might be a 5 hour, and then people would just be around to just watch what's going on.
I'd be sipping it, sure.
Yeah.
No, it is just lemon water is what it is. It's lemon water.
Yeah.
I wish there was something more exciting, but I'm still doing my yearly carnivore cleanse. So if you weren't here last week, to kind of kick off the new year, every January I do carnivore for at least a month. I'm hoping to do it for 2 months this year, January and February. If I can make it 6 weeks, though, I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
I've lost, honestly, since the beginning of the year, I've already lost about 6 pounds, which gets me right back to where I really want to be, but I wouldn't mind being a little bit lower than that. So about 3 years ago, when we originally started doing keto and carnivore, I lost almost 30 pounds, and I went from right under 200 pounds. 198 is the highest I ever saw myself get. Now, I'm not saying I was never over 200. 198 is the highest that I ever saw myself get. And in general, I like to be about 170. And that's where I've been most of the time. Over the holidays, I did put some weight back on, but nowhere near 200, that's for sure. Yeah. I'm more in the 180 range, and I'd like to get back to the 170. So that's why I'm doing carnivore again this year, to just shed those pounds that I gained over the holidays. And it works. It's a good way to kind of detox your body, get rid of all of the excess fun that you had over the holidays, and get back on track.
Yeah. I am not doing carnivore.
No,
but I'm still doing keto, even though I was up a couple pounds after having some holiday fun.
Right.
That was able to come off. So wasn't that big of a deal for me. Yeah. So.
And really, carnivore, we eat so low carb most of the year anyway, that carnivore isn't that big of a stretch. Mm-hmm. Basically, I'm just eating the things that we make.
Yeah.
Or raise. I'm eating all of the meat that we raise. Now that we have a cow back in milk, we're making a ton of homemade cheese and yogurt and everything like that. So I eat that.
Yeah.
It's really not that big of a stretch,
and I'll share what I'm drinking.
But I don't, I do miss some vegetables every once in a while.
I'll share what I'm drinking.
Okay. Water.
Yeah.
Where's
boring.
That vodka?
No. Yeah. No. It's
just a big glass of vodka.
No. I'm super boring today. Just drinking water.
Right. It is what it is. We don't have any sparkling water in the house today. So,
we're trying to stop buying sparkling water.
We are.
We really like it, but we're cheap. And we realized that we were drinking too much of it because it was easy and tasty.
Especially when I'm doing carnivore, because it's like the only non-meat flavor that I get.
Yeah.
So I was drinking several
non-meat flavor.
So, and at 50 or 60 cents a can, it adds up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we have some fun things to talk about this week. We don't really have a teaching point this week because there have just been fun things that have been going on.
Well, and it's been, like I said, it's been a crazy week. So we last week, so today's Monday. So last Sunday, a week ago Sunday, we actually had our church service, no power. We had a cold stretch go through. It was the temperatures then dipped down into the single digits after that. And then it kind of warmed up a little bit after that. And then we got all of the snow. Mm-hmm. It really was a crazy week.
It was crazy. And I felt like it was a workout, every time you had to go outside to do chores because you were tromping through 6 plus inches of snow, or you were so bundled up because it was so cold outside that you had 45 layers of clothing on and you were like, what's his name on the Christmas story? You could barely even move.
I will say this. Even though we grew up in Wisconsin where it's really cold, we were kids, we didn't
I always hated it cold.
We never had to really like work or do all of the like work things in snow. So I have a new respect after the snow we got this week. I have a new respect for the people that farm or do things like we do now in areas where you get a ton of snow.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot more work than it is here in kind of the southern part of the states where for most of the year the weather really is pretty mild.
For sure. You should really tell the story about your grandma in the winter.
So my grandma was a widow at 49 years old. My grandpa died when he was 49. I'm not exactly sure how old my grandma was at the time. So my grandpa died when he was 49, and my grandma was a widow from that day forward. And so when my grandma lived right next door to us growing up, which was amazing because it was like really like having a second mom. Like, you know, if mom made me mad, I could go over to grandma's and try to get some sympathy over there and vice versa. But so it was great having grandma right next door. But my grandma was a strong German woman. And in Wisconsin, I mean, where I grew up, I mean, it's cold and we get a lot of snow. But my grandma would be out there in the middle of winter in shorts and usually like moccasins, maybe some boots, but normally not, but definitely in shorts. Sure, shorts. I don't think I ever saw my grandma wear long pants ever in my entire life. She wore shorts year round. And she'd be out there shoveling her driveway in shorts, no matter how much snow we had or how cold it was. I mean, that was my grandma.
That's something.
Yeah, she was
something.
She was quite the lady.
Yeah.
If we wouldn't get banned on YouTube for telling some of the stories about my grandma and some of the sayings that she had.
Yeah, she was something.
It was something. She had some. If we ever meet in person, ask me to tell you some of the sayings that my grandma taught me, and I'll tell you some of them. But they're not appropriate for YouTube.
One thing that's very different here than it is in Wisconsin is like here, if you get like a half an inch of snow or any ice or anything like that, like school is automatically canceled.
That's true.
In Wisconsin, if that were the case, like the kids would never go to school.
No.
But the thing is, like, I don't think we have the budget or the material or like the vehicles and stuff to have plows and salt and stuff going out.
Not everywhere.
Not as much as in Wisconsin, for sure.
We have so many gravel dirt roads here that just go. And, you know, the thing here in Missouri is that there's so many. I mean, first of all, we have a ton of curves, but also a ton of hills. And because we're right in that zone where we don't get a ton of snow, but we're still cold, we get a lot of ice. And so when ice gets on those hills, I mean, it's dangerous for the buses.
It is, for sure.
I would say, you know, ice here is more dangerous than the snow in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a huge difference between the two. And it seems kind of odd when we tell people that, you know, we had just a little bit of ice or a little bit of snow and school is canceled.
Right. Well, my birthday is in the middle of December. And when I turned 16, I took my driver's test in Wisconsin I think there was almost a foot of snow at the time. Yeah. But like I wasn't going to wait till summer to take my driver's test.
Yeah, mine's in January, and I took mine, and there was definitely snow on the road and on the sidewalks and everything like that. Yeah.
Sarah's birthday's coming up. Wish her a happy birthday.
It's fine. No
the 25th.
Yeah. So let's talk about some fun things that happened.
Well, first we need to thank all the people that are helping us.
Okay, go ahead.
So our friends Rich and Shelly, of course, are helping us again. Not of course, not like they have to.
No.
So Rich and Shelly from Air to Ground Farms and Air to Ground Meats. Here in Ava, Missouri. They help us every week, and we're just so thankful, not only for their help, but most importantly for their friendship. Yeah. They are great friends. And if you are ever in the Ava area, we ask that you stop by and check out their store. They just opened a store about a year ago here in Ava, where they sell all of the produce or all of the meat that they grow, that they produce here on their farm. So beef, pork, lamb, chicken. They also have other local products in their store, and it's just a really great place to get local products that haven't been, shipped for thousands of miles, irradiated, or any of the other things that happen to things as they get shipped.
And last year, they just recently did a video that they shared that last year in 2024, they created 20,000 pounds of meat.
Wow. That's a lot of meat.
That is like legit.
That's even more than I can eat.
That's a carnivore's dream. I'm so proud of them. We're so proud of them.
We are.
They're doing such a great job.
Yeah.
They're like doing it for real. They're like super legit.
Yeah. And if you don't know their story, Rich was in the Air Force. Rich was a
fighter pilot.
A fighter pilot and
a colonel.
And a colonel in the Air Force. And they retired and moved here to Missouri. And they really are just living the dream.
Yeah.
You know, they were during COVID and all of that. Rich was working at the Pentagon. They were kind of like on lockdown and they were like, this sucks. We want to be free and we want to move to Missouri. And here they are here in Missouri, just doing it.
They're just doing it.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. They're doing a great job. And so also our son-in-law, Gavin, I did see him that he had logged in. Gavin is helping us and he takes time out of every one of his Mondays to help us. And we appreciate that. And to show our appreciation, we also want to let you know that Gavin is a realtor in this area. If you're thinking about buying land or property or a house or whatever, we'd sure love for you to give him some business.
Right.
He and his family are local here, have been around for a long time. His family farms. So if you're interested in any of those kinds of things, give him a call or actually email him. That's his email address.
Did I ever tell the candy corn story?
I don't know, but you should tell it again.
Just in case I haven't. In case you're new, when Gavin, our daughter Grace,
yes,
that's our oldest daughter Grace, and Gavin, when they started dating when they were 16 years old, and Gavin, when they turned 18, shortly after they turned 18, Gavin came and he decided to ask me if he could marry Grace, and when he came, he brought me a bag of candy corn because he knows that I love candy corn, and he thought that might sweeten the deal a little bit. So I thought it was the best thing ever. He could have brought a little bit bigger bag, I thought. But,
whatever.
But now that we're on keto, I guess these days I wouldn't eat the candy corn anyway.
It was such a sweet gesture.
It was, and
it was so like him because he has such an awesome sense of humor.
Right.
And he's very thoughtful.
Right.
Also, and he remembers things. So,
right.
Yeah. He's also a very thoughtful, like Christmas gift giver.
So I thought it was that was awesome that he brought me a bag of candy corn and then asked if he could have my daughter.
Her hand in marriage, just not have her.
Right.
So that's the story behind that. So we've had some fun things go on this week. We've been able to spend some time inside getting some things done. We've got lots of milk that we're starting to do things with. Oh my gosh,
the milk. It's everywhere.
It's not that bad. It's going fine. But I took some of y'all's advice to start freeze drying our milk.
Uh-huh. How'd that go?
And well, I want to share with everybody how that went. And so this is our freeze dryer with the milk in it. It's still in there. You might be able to hear it beeping because it's done and ready for me to take care of.
So this is what it looks like.
This is what it looks like right now.
What happened? What happened to that milk?
Well, it kind of exploded in there in the freeze drying process.
Right.
And this happens sometimes when you put food in that's not frozen. So it goes through a freezing cycle first, and then the pressure kicks in and it starts to freeze dry it. But if it doesn't freeze hard enough in the freeze cycle, it can basically foam up and explode like this.
Like that?
Like this. And if you look on the left side, you can also see that not only has it exploded like toward the front, but it's also exploded onto each side.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a complete nightmare mess to clean up.
That's why it's in there beeping right now. We haven't opened it yet.
I know. The solution to this, what I should have done is I should have pre-frozen the milk in the trays before I put it in the freeze dryer.
Which we could have just set them outside for like 10 minutes.
Actually, maybe I'll do that. I'll set them outside next time.
Right. Overnight.
Yeah, overnight. Anyway, so some of it is going to be fine. Those bottom 3 trays, actually just the bottom two trays didn't explode. But we are venturing into, you have to freeze milk first or it does it every time. Yeah, we're kind of figuring that out.
Yeah. And to be honest, this isn't our first time freeze drying milk. We've made the same mistake in the past. But
are you sure?
we have. But
Well, apparently I didn't learn my lesson.
We
So-
hoped for better results this time, and we didn't have them.
Well, and we did this. We're starting to do this because Kevin found a carnivore bun, like a hamburger bun
Right.
recipe that is actually really, really good.
Did you have pictures of those?
No, I
show.
forgot.
I'm
Okay.
gonna show. I'm just gonna hold. My,
Okay.
I hope you don't mind. We're gonna get less technical here, and I'm just gonna hold my phone up.
So he found this carnivore bun recipe that is egg and milk powder and baking powder, and that's it. And it was really good. We went and bought milk powder.
Can you see them?
Yeah.
That's what they look like.
Yeah, they look really good.
They
tasted really good also.
Yeah, they are really good. We had actually burgers on them because these are nothing but egg and milk powder. They're carnivore.
Right.
So we have carnivore, like 100% carnivore burgers.
Right.
Cheeseburgers.
Yeah. So when we went to the store to buy the milk powder, it was like $8.50 for like hardly any at all.
Right.
So we thought, we have a lot of extra milk. We should figure out how to do this. And clearly the first time was a giant nightmare, and we've learned from our mistakes.
Well,
and
maybe
from
there's
all
a reason
you who know
there's
know
a reason
what to
it's
do.
expensive at the store.
That's true, because it's messy.
Right.
No. So we've been doing that with some of the milk. That was fun.
Yeah, it was.
And I also made quark, which is not the first time I've made quark. So quark is like the cow's milk equivalent of chev. And the first time I made it,
These are all fancy words that I don't know anything about.
The first time I made it, it was terrible. What I'm going for is like a cream cheese consistency that I can use in like keto cheesecake or cheesecake like dips and stuff like that. Not cheesecake, cream cheese dips and things like that. And the first times that I've made it, it was terrible. Well, this time it turned out really well, and I'm super excited.
So what do you think the difference was?
The procedure that I used the first couple times was different than this one. And so I think that's going to make all the difference. Plus, I didn't strain it as long. This, I only let it drain like this for 6 hours. And the last time I think I drained it for too long, and it got like
for
crumbly.
2 weeks?
No. For too long,
okay.
And it got crumbly.
Okay.
So that's exciting. That was a major win.
Right.
And I'm happy to be winning in that area.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because
the more things we can do with milk, the better, because we have a lot of milk.
Right.
Right now, we're getting about 2 gallons a day, which isn't overwhelming. I mean, it's not, there's been times we're getting 3 or 4 gallons a day. 2 gallons a day isn't like so much that we can't use it, but it's still a lot because it's every day. That's 14 gallons of milk a week.
Right. Last week, I think I told you that I made ricotta for the first time. Yes. And it turned out really well. And Kevin liked it, which in the past he hasn't liked ricotta like from the grocery store. So that's a total major win that he likes the ricotta.
I'm a texture guy, like that quark stuff. I won't eat that because it's too soft.
He won't eat cream cheese. He won't eat sour cream.
Mayonnaise. No, none
ranch
of that
dressing.
Stuff.
No, he won't eat any of that.
But the ricotta that you made was good.
That's a total win.
It was firmer. It wasn't so like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how to explain it, but it was very good.
Right.
And I will eat it, and I have ate it.
Another thing that we did, since we had a lot of inside the house time over the last week, and because we took pigs to the processor last week, and
thank the Lord, we took them just before all of this cold, bad weather.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been fun.
No,
there are people like Rich and Shelley that do it and do it well, and they just power through it.
I know.
In the winter. God bless them.
Yeah,
we're not doing that.
That's anymore. Great. I'm happy that there are people who are willing to do it, but I'm also very glad that we got rid of ours just before. We raise 2 pigs every year, one for us, one for my mom and dad, and we took them literally, I think, 2 days before this cold stretch happened.
So anyway, I'm feeling the pressure to clear out the pork freezer to get ready for the new pork to come in, and I realized how much pork fat I had in the freezer. So I brought out like 6 bags of it, which ended up being, I think it felt like 30 or 35 pounds of of pork fat, and I put it in my
It was a lot. I know that.
My big old 18-quart Nesco roaster, and cooked it all down. And this is what I got. I ended up getting 2.5 gallons of rendered lard.
Right.
Which is awesome.
So the stuff in the back that's lighter colored, that is already cooled down.
Yeah.
The stuff in the front is still hot, and that will turn white as it cools down.
It'll turn lighter.
Right. Just like the stuff in the back.
The other thing is the 2 and kind of the partial one that are in their front, they were cooking longer. And the longer you cook them in your pan with the like meaty bits and stuff like that, the darker the oil gets. So it may not be as light colored as the stuff in the back when it's done, but we'll just use that first. It's going to taste a little bit porkier than the ones in the back too, because it's cooked longer.
Hey, nothing bad about that.
No, you just don't want you don't want to make pie crust with that stuff.
Cherry pork pie?
No. Lemon meringue.
I just want cherry
pork pie.
Right about now, I just want cherry pie. That's what I want.
Anyway, so during that process, we also experimented with making pork cracklings.
Yeah, because what's left in the bottom after you do all of the rendering of the lard, you get these nice chunks left in the bottom.
Yeah.
And so, yes, look at that.
Yes. So we
that right there is a carnivore's dream.
It is, and we cooked them more in the oven. We cooked them on 350 for like
30 or 40 minutes.
And crisped them up and even more. Put them on some paper towels to drain some of the fat, and we tried them with some salt, and they were very tasty.
Right.
But they were so rich.
Right.
They will
need to be eaten in very small bites.
Right. And many people will add these to their cornbread.
Right.
Like when you're mixing up your cornbread batter.
Except we don't eat corn.
We don't eat cornbread anymore, so we can't do that. So anyway, we tried that, and that was super fun.
Right. It was good. They were very good.
Yeah. One other thing that we did this week, we've been using our wood stove so much that it was finally time to let the fire burn out and take all the ashes out of the wood stove. And while we did that, the temperature in the house, this is a funny story. The temperature in the house got to 70 degrees.
And our furnace kicked on.
We
do have a furnace, but we try every time I hear the furnace kick on, I think to myself, there's money.
Yeah.
Like we need to get some wood in the wood stove because if the furnace is running, that's money down the drain.
But while we had the fire off, our poor dogs, this is our dogs, okay?
Right.
70 degrees,
70
mind
degrees.
you, 70. It's actually like a nice summer day temperature, right?
Sure, if it were 70 outside, it'd be great.
Bliss.
It
would be wonderful.
Right.
Okay, but this is our dogs at 70 degrees in the house. They are huddled together
in one little. You can see the other bed in the background.
No, there's a second bed. They're not deprived by any means.
No,
but they're cuddling together, shivering on a kana. They are freezing to death at 70 degrees.
Yes,
and I think Rosie is looking over at the wood stove, waiting for you to start it again.
Right, and it was honestly, we only let the fire burn out for like 12 hours.
Right. It was so funny.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are definitely wimps.
Yep. So I think everybody is waiting to hear the story. Oh, and it's almost 6:30, so we got to get going.
But one more thing.
Okay.
So this snow that we got, like I said earlier, if you weren't here right at the beginning, so we got about 6 inches of snow, maybe a little over 6 inches of snow, which for us, we've lived here now almost 9 years. And I think this is the most snow that we've gotten in one falling since we've lived here. And this is the very first time, I'm going to pull up another picture on my phone. This is the very first time that I've had to use my tractor to actually plow the driveway. Luckily, I have a grader blade on the back of my driveway. I don't think we have a picture of it, do we?
No.
But I do have it. So this is the driveway. Hopefully you can see it. Okay. That's what the driveway looked like. And I was able to use my tractor to actually pull all the snow off the driveway. So that's the first time that we've had enough snow where I've actually had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And was actually pleasantly surprised how well it worked.
Well, we've got another story to tell you, but I want to show you guys this. This is super fun. That was a teeny tiny egg that we found this week.
Oh, yeah.
We think it's one of the Polish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting eggs from mostly the ducks.
Right. It was about a quarter of the size of a duck egg.
Yeah. Okay.
So hopefully that means some of our new chickens are starting to lay, because right now, really all we're getting are duck eggs.
2 or 3 duck eggs a day.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody's here to hear the story of this. I call it the stink.
Right.
We had a stink. We've had many stinks.
Let me just fess up at the beginning.
Okay.
It's my fault. There we go. It's my fault.
It's okay. It's okay.
I did help rectify the situation.
Yes, you did.
But it is my fault.
So here's what happened.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I sent Kevin to the store to get chicken legs because I was taking 2 big pans of baked chicken legs.
8 pounds.
8 pounds to church for lunch on Sunday.
Right. And even though we raise all of our own chicken, for us, 8 pounds of nothing but legs. I mean, we'd have to raise.
It was. I think it ended up being.
To get that.
I think it ended up being 30 legs.
Right.
That I took.
Right.
So
Which is 60 chickens worth of legs.
60?
No, 15.
Oh my gosh.
15 chickens worth of legs.
Whoa.
I'm doing my math backwards.
It's late.
It's been a long day already.
Okay, so I sent him in the store to get chicken legs, and Walmart was like almost completely out because everybody was stockpiling because the snow was coming.
Yeah.
So he ended up getting 2 4-pound bags of the frozen legs from the freezer section, which we don't normally get, and that's fine. So we brought home the legs, and that's all I needed. Fine and dandy.
Right.
So
I wasn't thinking anything of it. We were busy. I actually got home kind of late. It was almost time to milk and everything. So I put them in our, we have a spare refrigerator in our laundry room. I put them in there because they were frozen. So no big deal, right? And
the next day I opened the fridge to put milk in there, and I realized that the top shelf where they were at was completely.
Actually, it was a couple days later.
Okay. Well, it was completely filled with chicken
liquid
goo. And so I'm like, okay, well, now I need, I emptied out the entire refrigerator. Yeah. And they started to thaw, and then the bags they were in leaked. So chicken juice came out all over the top shelf. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. We'll just put them in a container, take everything out of the refrigerator, wash all the everything in the whole refrigerator, put everything back, wipe it down. Everything was fine. Well, the next night I started smelling something, and I'm like, is there a bad egg in the refrigerator? I opened the refrigerator, smelled in the refrigerator, couldn't smell, but it kind of smelled like a rotten egg, but it wasn't strong enough for me to figure out where it was coming from. So I didn't say anything about it. I really didn't think anything about it. Well, the next morning,
it was bad.
It was bad. And this was Sunday morning. I think this is Sunday morning that the stink really started coming out. Keep in mind, with our wood stove
running, our house stays at a nice, cool 87 degrees most of the time.
No, that is exaggerating. But what isn't exaggerating is 78 to 80 degrees in the house. Okay, so it's warm. So I thought I had gotten everything out of that refrigerator, all of the stink, all of the chicken goo. But apparently we found out, and okay, here's the thing. It stunk so bad, but we needed to go to church. We started unloading and moving the refrigerator before church, but I'm like, we're never going to make it. We have all this stuff to do. It's just going to have to stay until after church and after church lunch. Right. Okay. So we get home at 1:30 in the afternoon. The wood stove has been on all the time that we've been gone. It is 80 degrees in the house. We walk in the back door and it hits us like rotten chicken goo, nasty.
It just smelled like a dead chicken.
It smelled like chicken death. It smelled like death.
Yeah.
So we put everything away, and then we start trying to locate the stink because I had washed everything on the inside.
Right. It wasn't on the inside of the fridge.
It was not on the inside of the fridge. There is a super secret compartment deep inside the bottom part of the guts of your refrigerator that has a pan. Mm-hmm. and it was in the pan festering
Right.
for multiple
Fermenting.
days. It was not fermenting.
Let me tell you this: chicken wine will never catch on as a good thing because it smells terrible.
Oh, it was so bad. You guys, I have a really strong stomach, but I felt so sick.
It was bad.
We had to take apart both the front panel and the back panel, like way down at the bottom. And while we were in there, we found a mouse nest from when that refrigerator was out in the garage. It was like this big.
Right.
We saved ourselves from having a fire, which was good. Oh, but it was bad. We worked on that thing. We got it all figured out.
It was a couple hours at least.
It's all bleached and all better and everything,
Right.
but the stink was bad.
Our house was pretty nasty for several hours.
It was terrible. Now, I want to get on to comments and questions, but I do want to add that if you've been around here long, you know that this is not the first stink story. Man, we've gotten so many stink stories. Especially when Rosie, our female beagle, tore into an entire gallon of concentrated fish emulsion and then dumped it all over our carpeting in the living room.
Yeah.
And
she chewed up an entire gallon of fish emulsion while we were gone in town. And the entire gallon of, it's concentrated fish emulsion leaked all over our living room. And by the time we got home, it was so bad. And you guys, that might have been worse than this.
For sure was, because I used my carpet cleaner and I cleaned that spot 11 times with everything I could think of, and it still stunk so badly. The poor kids were like, Mom.
Right, because our kids were still pretty young at that time.
I'm not having friends over until this carpet is replaced.
Right.
I'm like, well, I don't blame you. But the people that could replace it, they were backed up for like
6
months.
weeks. 6 weeks.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
So we had to have it ripped out and replaced it with hardwood floor in case she did anything stupid like that again. We could just mop it up. That was terrible. We had a possum dig into the venting underneath our house and our ductwork, and it blew dead possum carcass smell in our house.
Right.
We had a venting issue in our septic tank where we had sewage smell venting basically right outside of our bedroom. Man, we've had some stinks.
Yeah, it's been Missouri is, because it's so warm and humid, things stink here.
So that is the current story of the stink.
Right.
We've had too many. Okay, guys, it is after 6:30, which means we are going to switch to the Q&A portion of our live stream. So I'm going to start with Jody Whitler. Thank you so much, Jody. And thank you, Jody, for coming like every week we see you, and we really appreciate that. She gave us a super chat of $20, and she asked, are the American breast roosters more likely to get frostbite? Could it be because my coop is large? It's a yard barn converted, 16 by 20, I think. They roost right next to the roof. We have had some frostbite damage on their combs and on their wattles.
Right.
And it's really not a breed issue.
It's usually on their roosters.
Yeah, it's not a breed issue. It's really just any breed that has tall combs or large wattles.
Right.
And they'll heal up.
Yeah.
They're going to look a little weird.
They're not going to look the same afterwards.
Right.
Like, it's never going to like really go back to the way it was, but it's also really, unless it's really severe damage, it's not going to hurt them. It's more of a cosmetic issue.
Yeah.
So yes, we've had it happen as well. Unless you're willing to put in a, heated coop, I don't know how you're going to prevent it.
They'll be fine.
Right.
It's no big deal.
Right.
They'll be fine. Let's see here. The OG Kenji is asking, what's your shirt say?
Oh, I think I've worn this one before.
Yep.
It's my Occupy Mars shirt.
Yep. Well, I got to show mine.
All right. Show yours too.
Mine says,
Other way.
Joy comes in the morning. Psalm 30, verse 5.
Did you guys know that when you're doing these live streams, everything is backwards? That's why sometimes it's like I try to move the camera, because it's like you got to move the opposite direction to keep yourself in the picture.
It's no big deal. Let's see. Susquehanna Homestead asked, would Cornish cross chickens use an outdoor run or stay inside all the time?
Well, we normally keep them strictly indoors until they're about 3 weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
Then we move them outside. Typically, we raise them in tractors, so completely outside from the time they're 3 weeks old until they're about 8 weeks old, 7.5, 8 weeks old. When we process them, they can definitely use an outdoor run. When we lived in Arizona, we didn't use tractors. We just had them in a big outdoor run.
Mm-hmm.
And they would stay pretty much strictly outdoors from 3 weeks old on.
If they have a coop and a run, in my opinion, they will go wherever the food is.
Right.
So if you want them to go inside during the night, you might have to actually physically pick them up and put them in there, or like herd them in there, because they're not very smart and they don't move very well.
They don't have a lot of natural instincts.
No. But if you want them outside, just feed them outside.
Right.
And so, but they can have both. They'll use both for sure. Right. Here is a question for you from Hillbilly Haven. Did you take a deer this year?
I did. I actually got 2 deer this year. I got one buck and 1 doe.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I was hoping for more, but I didn't get to hunt as much as I would like to. And to be honest, everybody that I talked to this year didn't have a great year. Yeah. Like there's been past years I've gotten 4 or 5 deer. Mm-hmm. Normally I try to get at least 1 or 2 for us. I try to get 1 for our daughter and her husband. I try to get a couple, some people at church and things like that. This year I got 1 for us and 1 for our daughter, and that was it.
Yeah.
So It is what it is.
This question is from Shandy's Garden. I bought myself 2 Dolly Parton cast iron pans for Christmas. Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that one I see on the top right end of your rack?
A Dolly Parton?
I don't know exactly which one you're talking about, but I don't have any that are Dolly Parton cast iron pans.
No. Most of them that are hanging up here, other than the pizza pan, which is right behind Sarah, right there, that's newer. All the other ones, I think, are antique cast iron pans.
We've gotten all of them from like garage sales.
Right.
We've gotten a couple of them from friends who've had some, family ones that they passed on to us because their family didn't want them.
Right.
Alamo 2211, $5 super chat. Thank you so much.
We
appreciate that
so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a question from Laura Wamers. Question: do you use any keto foods that have the sugar alcohol sweeteners? I've read they can cause cardiovascular problems.
Well,
I
mean, we don't eat much of the like keto food. Like we don't buy the packaged keto food. The main sweetener that we use is stevia, which is not a sugar alcohol. We do occasionally use erythritol.
Yeah, we don't use that much anymore.
But not much anymore.
Yeah, and there's a newer one that doesn't have as many
allulose
potential issues, called allulose.
Right.
We haven't used that a lot, but we might look into that.
Right.
But you're right that there are some studies that have come out recently on some of the other sugar alcohols. So we really, in general, stay away from a lot of those things and just continue to go back to stevia.
Right. Yeah.
But you need to be careful with stevia because a lot of times they are they're combined with other of the sugar alcohols.
Right. And in general, you need to be careful with the pre-packaged keto food.
Yep.
Just try to do low carb,
and whole food,
like the things that are advertised as keto. A lot of times they have ingredients in them that you really don't want.
Let's see here. This is from Chester Hickman from Texas.
Okay.
How big of a brooder do I need for 30 Buff Orpington chicks?
Not very big. No. I mean, I'd say like 4x4. I mean, 4 foot by 4 foot is probably fine.
Initially.
I mean, it depends how long you need to keep them in the brooder. I mean, in Texas, I would imagine your weather is going to be fairly nice most of the year. By the time they're 4 weeks old, 3 or 4 weeks old, they can be moved to a tractor or something if the weather is nice. I mean, that's a hard question to answer because it depends how big they will be when you move them out of the brooder.
Yeah. and the temperature and stuff. You want to wait to move them into any inclement weather until they're fully feathered.
Right.
Because they're a heritage breed, that might take more than, it could take 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So just as big enough that you're not having to change their bedding all the time.
Right.
And that they can stay clean and warm, and that kind of thing. And good job. Buff Orpingtons are really, really
They were
nice
the very
chickens.
first chickens we ever had.
Mm-hmm. Nice chickens. Oh, it would not be a live stream without one of these questions.
All right.
Kelly Hurd, do we have a donkey yet?
No, you are still looking at a man who does not own a donkey. I don't know what to say about that at this point, but
we're still researching.
We're still, it's winter.
True.
I feel like I will gain some ground as springtime comes around. Let's just say that. I haven't fought the fight yet. But when the weather starts to get nice, you never know. I might up my game a little bit.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Oh, Lori Nonco, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. She says, I'm going to lay the fabric you guys use. Where do you get your 6 foot wide, and do you grade before you put the fabric down?
You can get it through places like Grower Solutions. That's where we would normally get it. These days you can also get it on Amazon. You can try to find it locally. But I would say this, if you're going to buy it locally or you're going to buy it somewhere on Amazon, now there are a lot of off brands that have suddenly popped up.
Yes, quality is important.
Correct. So I would not buy it in a big box store.
Yeah, no.
Because the stuff that they have is not going to be the same quality.
No.
So the brand that we use is DeWitt. The specific one that we use is the DeWitt Sunbelt. It's very heavy duty. It lasts a long time. I would get it either at Grower Solutions or look specifically for the DeWitt Sunbelt. And no, we will till before we put it down typically so that the ground is nice and smooth, but I don't grade to make sure that it's like level and all of that. No. So
it'll be okay.
You want it to be fairly smooth, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go overboard.
Right. Yeah. Question from Emily Livingston. How far is the processor from you?
So I'd say 30 miles, right? It's in Fort, the processor we use is in Fordland, Missouri. We're in Ava. I think it's about 30 miles.
Yeah. There are actually multiple processors within an hour.
Oh, we have a lot of them.
Yeah. It's big cattle country here. So,
right.
Yeah.
But the one we use is about 30 minutes away. They're 30 miles away.
Yeah. Here's a question from Lori Egger. Sarah, do you have any homemade face cream recipes? I don't have a face cream recipe. And the hand salve that I made in Saturday's video is a little too thick for your face unless you are really struggling with dryness. So I I don't have a face cream recipe yet. If I ever develop one or really have one that I like, I'll make sure to share it with you guys. From Kimberly Snedden. Hi, Kevin. We will be making more venison snack sticks soon. Any recommendations on keeping them from being too dry and the outer layer to have a nice snap?
It's a never-ending battle for me as well. I'm still trying to perfect it myself.
Recently, you've been making some more.
I have been doing it again. I've actually been playing around making them with no casing at all, and they've turned out pretty good. The one thing that I'm learning is if you're using a cure, if you're using either the pink salt or a natural cure, you don't have to get them as done as I originally used to do. So you don't necessarily have to get them up to that like 165 degrees. You can have them a little less than that. I'm still playing around with it myself. If I ever perfect it, I will do another video on how to make them. The recipe that I've already done, I think I may have done 2 videos about making them already. That's how I still do them. I wish I could say that they're better than store-bought. I'm not sure they are at this point, but they are homemade and you know what's going in them. So that part of it makes it.
And you can use your own meat.
Right.
Mhm.
Like right now on carnivore, I mean, I'm eating a ton of snack sticks, and I'm making beef and venison. So.
Right. Ammon Miller, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Oh, he or she
money.
said specifically it's for donkey money.
All right.
I know y'all have taken over our super chat fund and have designated that they all go to the donkey fund.
Right.
But I haven't committed to that. But thank you so much.
It helps me. It helps my fight when we get to that point in the spring. It's hard to think about getting something new right now when we have the weather we're having.
Yeah. Teresa Roche is asking, do your chickens go out in the snow? Ours look at us like we're crazy when we open their coop. I'm not going out in that. Well, our chickens were not very happy to see the snow. They were a little bit
but they do go
surprised.
Out. They do.
Yeah.
They do. They're not happy about it, but they do go out in it.
Yep.
But they do spend a lot more time in their coop as well.
Yeah. Here's a good question. What happened to the peanut harvest? Did you eat them or give them to the animals?
No, they're actually they dried out. We haven't roasted them yet, but they're all dried out because we keep our house so warm. Honestly, they've kind of dehydrated themselves in the house. I ate some prior to starting carnivore, and they're doing really well. They're really good. I think once I'm done with carnivore, I'll probably roast them up and eat some more of them. I saw someone from Gilbert. What's that?
Yeah.
Zachary
Watson. Hello from Gilbert, Arizona.
That's where we used to live, Gilbert.
I have a question. What is the makeup of the soil that you use for seed starts? I've done it several times using compost, and they fall apart when I try to plant them. Recently, over the last several years, in fact, we've actually just been using and buying a pre-made seed starting mix.
Right.
And that has done
usually
really
like
well
the
for
Pro
us.
Mix or something like that.
Yeah, we haven't been mixing our own for a long time, really since I stopped using the soil blocks. I almost said seed blocks, the soil blocks. And really the only reason I stopped using soil blocks was because we were starting so many plants on such a big scale for the farmers market that it didn't make sense for me to start them in soil blocks anymore. Maybe someday I'll get back to that. But the mixture that I did, that soil block video that I did so many years ago was the first video I was ever in.
Wow.
And it was a good one. So you can go back and probably search soil blocks and still find that video. And that
was like
recipe,
8 years ago.
Yeah, that recipe was a really good one. So if you're really wanting to make your own, go ahead and find that soil block video. And it has the recipe I was using.
Right.
Yeah. Regina asks, Sarah, any homemade hand soap recipes?
I mean, you used to. When you made bar soap, you would grind it up and make hand soap.
No. Well,
yes, you would.
Like liquid, yeah. Sometimes that was a failure, but I've made bar soap in the past. I haven't made bar soap in a long, long time. I've been considering making it again. But what Kevin is referring to is that you can really shred bar soap and mix it with water.
Right.
And put it in
when she says hand soap, that's what I'm envisioning. She means like liquid soap.
Okay. And so that's really the only liquid soap I've been successful in making. Liquid soap is very difficult to make homemade.
Right.
And it's just more trouble than it's worth, in my opinion, unless you shred a bar and mix it with water and kind of dissolve it. And that's okay.
Right.
Yeah. Steve Williams, a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let's talk with Mama Mac.
All right.
Our chickens are approaching 1 year old and haven't started laying. Any ideas what we could be doing wrong?
Well, if they turned 1 year old in the fall and the days were starting to get short, but a year old, well, it says approaching a year old. My guess is this spring they're going to start laying for you. The only other thing I can think is that you're not feeding them enough. Is that if you're not feeding them enough, if they're like mostly like strictly free ranging and you're not really giving them much, or all you're giving them is like chicken scratch, you really need layer feed.
Yeah.
But other than that, she says they're approaching a year old. So I'm guessing they're like 9 or 10 months old. which means they hit 6 months old as the days were starting to get shorter. It kind of depends where you're at in the country, but like, they start laying around that 6 month old, but like if the days were getting shorter, they may wait until spring to start laying. We've had that happen.
Yeah, like one of two things can happen depending on when you start your chicks, like when you get your chicks. If they reach 6 months old before the days start shortening, they will start laying, and those will generally lay through the winter.
Right.
If you start them too late and they haven't quite gotten to the 6 month mark by the time the days get shorter, a lot of times they won't start laying until the days start getting longer again in the spring. And so then it feels like it's taking forever for them to lay, and will they ever lay?
Right.
We know how that feels.
Right. My guess is they're going to start laying in the spring, assuming you're feeding them the right food and the right amount of food.
Mm-hmm. That's what I probably figure too.
Yeah.
Mismatched Socks Shop is asking ideas of what to plant in my green stalks. I won't be able to in-ground garden this year. Green stalks are fun.
They are.
We've never had one, but I see a lot of people planting a lot in them, and one day I think we're going to try them.
Right. I would say, anything that you can plant in small containers is going to work well.
Mm-hmm.
Lettuce.
Some people do strawberries, and it looks so fun.
Right.
With strawberries hanging down.
I bet you could do some cherry tomatoes even.
I don't know. I think that would be pushing it. Definitely lettuce, anything that stays small. Nothing that vines and hangs down too much.
Right.
Nothing that needs, a big area to grow roots.
Right. My guess is they're going to dry out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, things that have huge roots probably are going to use too much water. Now,
I've seen a couple people plant petunias, like the entire thing petunias, and it's gorgeous.
Potatoes.
No.
That's one potato
that would make sense. Petunias. Okay. And it makes an entire column of gorgeous petunia flowers, and those are beautiful.
But can you eat petunias?
No, you can't. That's just
they're
something
just
pretty.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything small. There are some people that will grow some like cilantro or some fast small herbs.
Like all of your herbs really probably could grow in them.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Basil, I bet would do well in them.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything that's going to stay pretty small. Alamo 2211 again. Sarah, have you found a better recipe for stevia drops? I'm eager to try making my own, but you said the ones you used wasn't very good. Now, here's the thing. I haven't found a different recipe, and there's nothing wrong with the way I did it. And when you look into how to do it, the way I did it is really how everybody's doing it. It's just different than the ones from the store.
Good.
Right.
They're just different.
They're just different. They're not bad. It's not that they tasted bad. It's just not what I was used to. And I just wanted to stay using the ones that I could buy.
Right.
And like I said,
the main thing is they're not as sweet. Right. So like if you need like 3 drops of the store-bought, you might need 6 or 9 drops of the homemade.
Mm-hmm. And they do taste a little earthy, but that's not the process.
Right.
It's just that they're homemade and not the, perfectly refined process from the store.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd give it a try. Yeah. See what you think.
Yeah. It's not that the recipe is bad. It's just that it's different than store-bought.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
That's why we do a lot of what we do, because we don't want store-bought.
Right. Grand Homestead is asking, do ducks need nesting boxes like chickens?
No. In fact, in our experience, giving nest boxes to chicken or to ducks is kind of a waste, because they'll never use them. Occasionally, they might accidentally lay in a nesting box. If it's right on the ground, they're never going to jump up into something to lay. But for the most part, just put some deep bedding in their coop. What we do personally is we let the ducks out, like we let all of our animals out a little later in the morning, after like a couple hours after the sun has come up, because the ducks will always lay in the morning. So if you let them out before the sun comes up or right when the sun comes up, they'll lay somewhere in their run, wherever they happen to be when an egg needs to come out. They just like stop and lay an egg. But if you keep them locked up for a couple hours after the sun comes up, they'll lay in their coop, and then you can at least find them in your coop.
Yep.
That's what we do.
Yep, I agree.
Right now, we're getting like 3 duck eggs a day.
Mm-hmm. Here's a good question from Cynthia.
I think this will be the last one.
Okay. Last question. It's a good one. Transitioning my flower garden to vegetables. Are carrot seeds hard to start? They can be tricky because they need to stay moist.
Right.
And
dark, right?
I think so. What normally what people do is they will sow them, in their row or whatever, and then they will put like a piece of wood or a piece of cardboard or something on top of them. Whoop, Kevin's alarm's going off.
Sorry.
Spray them down with a fine mist to make them nice and wet, and then cover them with a board or a piece of cardboard or something like that, and keep them covered in the dark and very moist until they germinate.
Right.
It might take a week or something like that, but that's really the only tricky part about carrots.
Right. Once they've germinated, they're pretty easy.
Yeah. And they like nice loose soil because they want to grow deep down and make a nice root. If it's too hard, then they can't make a root, and you'll get a short, stumpy carrot. Right. So are they hard? No, but they can be a little bit tricky.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Is that the last one, or we're doing one more?
We can do one more.
All right, let's do one more.
From Wanda G, what feed for Cornish cross?
Well,
what kind of feed?
So we start our Cornish cross on. You see how long? You guys did if you haven't been here, I've given up on cutting my hair over the winter, so my hair is getting a little out of control here.
It's getting curly.
I know.
It's actually
my hair gets curly when it gets long. So for Cornish cross, what we do is we do the very first bag of feed that we feed them a medicated chick starter. And I know there's all kinds of opinions about medicated chick starter. All the medication is in a medicated chick starter is an anti-parasitic. So that they don't get coccidiosis. And so the first bag we always do with medicated chick starter. Once that bag is gone, we don't do any more medication at all. Then we switch them to a regular chick starter until they're 3 weeks old. And then at 3 weeks old, we switch them to an 18% chick grower. And we keep them on that the entire rest of the time that they are growing out. That's what we do. So it starts at like 22%, and then it switches to 18%, and we keep them on 18% the whole time.
So about the chick starter, the medicated chick starter, what you're saying is that the medication that's in there is not an antibiotic.
Right. There's a lot of misconceptions about that people think, like, I don't want my chickens to have an antibiotic, and it's not. The medicated chick starter is not an antibiotic. It's an
It's a coccidiostat.
It's called a coccidiostat, and it just keeps them from getting coccidia which is a parasite that causes diarrhea and dehydration, and then they'll die. Right. And a lot of times they'll get that from the hatchery that they're coming from. They'll get that during shipping, things like that, which is why we feed them that during the first,
first bag.
Usually it's the first week and a half, 2 weeks. And then after that, they're on something else.
Yep.
There you go.
Oh wow. Laura Weimers. $50. Happy birthday, Sarah. Thank you. Mine is January 27th, although I'm older than you. God bless. And I hope your day is great. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Happy belated birthday, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I turned 49 in December, and Sarah turns 49 in just a couple weeks. Or next week.
You're telling all my secrets.
Can you believe? I can't believe. This is our last year in our 40s. We're going to make it a good year.
Yeah, we're going to live it up.
Right.
Yeah. So you guys, thank you so much. I'm going to change to a different banner.
All right.
Oh, no. How about that? Okay. Oh, my gosh.
That took a lot of time.
That was harder than it needed to be.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for staying with us tonight. It has been quite a week here on the homestead. Just everything is a lot harder in this weather. So
yeah,
it's been a week, but
we've gotten our workouts.
We're happy that you guys spent some time with us, and we will see you back here real soon.
You guys take care. God bless.
God bless.